Hey folks, Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. These are 25 of my favorite moments from WWE Raw history. It's actually my third time reshooting this, so you'll forgive me if I skip over some of these. As I had some issues, had to do a phone update and everything. You know, technology's lovely, but I'm glad to have the ability to do these videos for you guys. Am I going to remember every single moment from Raw history, every single great moment? No, there are going to be some that I'm going to forget about. There are some, I'm sure, even as I added this list a couple times, that I probably did forget about. There are some iconic moments I left off because in the top 50 moments they'd be here. But maybe there were some that were iconic moments that I thought were really good, but maybe weren't top 25 best. This is my list. So let me know what you think in the comments. And if there are any moments you feel I forgot, please leave them in the comments, but I encourage, if you have a YouTube channel, make your own video about some of your favorite Raw moments. Because I'm recording this the 10th, so obviously it'll either be up later today or it'll be up possibly tomorrow on the official anniversary of Monday Night Raw when it first, when the first episode happened. And by the way, I did do a show where I reflected on the 3 January episodes in 1993. So check that out if you haven't already. I've also done a top 25 favorite Raw matches. And those were my personal opinion. I did forget about some, including a couple in the comments that were mentioned, like Christian versus RVD in a ladder match, which was a really, really damn good match. It was from 2003. I really just appreciate anybody for watching, and let's get on with the countdown. Some of these I may talk about a little bit in depth, but I do only have about 33 minutes I can record a video on my phone at a time, because there's only so much storage space and everything. Let's get on with the show. Number 25, CM Punk reads text messages to Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash, OMG, thought he was dead, LOL. The Summer of Punk stuff was funny. Punk maybe, of course wasn't. Maybe he got the legs cut out from under him. Maybe he was a bit of a prick to deal with backstage. Whatever the whole thing was, this feud with Kevin Nash, it should have gone somewhere. Didn't really go anywhere. This was a pretty funny moment, though. Number 24, AJ Lee versus Daniel Bryan. Their wedding from Raw 1000. Vince McMahon showing up and just being the guy to name AJ Lee as the Raw General Manager was a pretty cool moment. Slick being the Reverend, the pastor, the preacher. Well, he's the Reverend, the Doctor of Style, Slick. And it was really, really cool to see Slick back on TV. Slick should be in the Hall of Fame. Slick was a really good manager. But that was a really cool moment. This was one of the few 3-hour-long episodes where nothing really dragged down, even though there were down periods that you're going to have in any lengthy episode. This was a really cool segment. AJ Lee being Raw GM was really nice, and Daniel Bryan started snapping more and more, which will lead us to another moment that I'm going to mention here a little later. But number 23, This Is Your Life with Mankind and The Rock. Yeah, ranked a little low. I enjoyed it. There was a little bit of dead air, and the jokes were pretty cheesy. But Mankind was just having fun. Rock was having fun. Everybody was having fun. One of the highest rated segments of Raw history. It was really, really good. And it was one of the last ones that Russo had anything to do with, if I recall right. Because he left soon after and went to WCW. But this was a really, really good segment. And just funny and everything. And maybe a little overrated in retrospect. But you could tell everybody was having fun. And I certainly see why people enjoyed this as much as they did. Number 22, Daniel Bryan and R-Truth, the Invisible Child segment. Week after Daniel Bryan had been turned away at the altar, or left at the altar by AJ Lee, he was snapping more and more. When Kofi and R-Truth were a team, R-Truth had little Jimmy with him, the Invisible Child. And at one point, Daniel Bryan, it's like, oh, hey, little Jimmy, and kicks him out of the ring. And R-Truth is like out in the ring, trying to check on little Jimmy that only he can see. And he's like, what's wrong with you? And just one of my favorite lines just that Daniel Bryan ever said. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? You're consoling an invisible child and you're asking what's wrong with me. And I don't know why that's so funny. It is. I loved it. I thought it was tremendous stuff. It was just hilarious. And it showed how Daniel Bryan can really, really be funny. So it was hard. It's hard not to laugh at this, but it was funny stuff and led. They tried to make Daniel Bryan more of a heel, and it just didn't work. It just didn't. The crowd was not going to buy into it. They were going to keep cheering him, even though Daniel Bryan could play a heel really well. The crowd was not going to buy into it. But this was a funny line. And then number 21, Vader attacks Gorilla Monsoon. Imagine a prime Monsoon versus a prime Vader. That would have been a pretty cool feud. I mean, I know Monsoon was well out of the wrestling ring by this point. I mean, hell, I think even when Vader started, Monsoon hadn't wrestled in a number of years. But just imagine fantasy booking if that had happened. That would have been pretty cool. But Vader needed to be written off TV to get shoulder surgery, so Monsoon did the job. Vader attacked him and everything. It was great stuff, and it led to Roddy Piper being named, interim president of WWE. And he faced Goldust at WrestleMania 12 in an OJ-inspired segment. That was kind of in bad taste. Ugh. But anyway, Vader attacking Monsoon was really, really cool and a really great moment in the early episodes of Raw. Because Raw had only at that point been on just over 3 years. Number 20, Bret Hart returns to Raw. You know, Bret Hart returns home. He hadn't been on WWE TV in ages. He hadn't been on TV since his pay-per-view. His pay-per-view, Survivor Series pay-per-view. I mean, he'd been in a couple interview segments that were taken from his DVD and stuff, and stuff like that. And he got inducted in the Hall of Fame, but that was it. And I really did enjoy this. I really thought it was fun. It was great to see him and Shawn Michaels, finally make up and everything, shake hands and then hug. That was a really cool way to bury the hatchet. Sure, Bret still seems bitter even now, but not bitter toward Shawn, but hey, good stuff. I enjoyed this. I really liked it. Number 19, Ric Flair returns. It was the night after Survivor Series 2001. The alliance was over. Done. Fine. And Kurt Angle was about to be named WWE Champion. Ric Flair came down, huge pop. I believe they were in North Carolina. And just massive pop. Flair, of course, is now the co-owner of WWE. That only lasted for, I want to say it was like sometime in June. Sometime in June that it lasted till, which was really nice. I mean, I thought it was a nice way to have Flair wrestle, but also be an authority figure and stuff like that. Because even though he was able to perform really, really well, he was in his early 50s by this time. So it should have slowed down a little bit. But him returning, huge pop, classic Ric Flair, crazy Ric Flair. Him and Vince has some great chemistry. Certainly some really good stuff. Number 18, CM Punk cashes in. Edge, I'm going to take the world title to SmackDown. Batista, no you're not. Powerbomb. Lays him out. CM Punk comes down, cashes in. He's the world champion. Isn't booked like a world champion. And suddenly, is like punted in the head at Unforgiven 2008 and taken out of the match and isn't even allowed to lose the title in the match. Pretty stupid. The cash in, though, huge pop. And it was great to see CM Punk cash that in. Great. I mean, huge fan of CM Punk, even with how he left the company. Even with what he said about WWE in the past and about wrestling. Hey, whatever. Still fan of CM Punk, the wrestler. The guy, I mean, whatever. I don't know the guy. Number 17, Rollins is Plan B. Smash Reigns and Ambrose with the chair. Led to what should have been a great heel run for Rollins, and he healed it up as best he could. The problem is the booking was pretty shit. But Rollins, top quality performer, and did the best he could and had a great cash in at Mania 31. I would have gone with Reigns being the guy. They would have been in a much better position with Reigns being the one to turn on the Shield, because then they could have had him as a heel for a while and then turn him babyface. And yeah, not that Rollins and Ambrose wouldn't have gotten really good feuds and everything, really good feuds after this. But you almost in retrospect would wonder what would have happened had they turned Reigns heel. I can't say everything was bad necessarily, because Rollins was a great heel, but I just wonder what could have been, because Reigns is clearly going to be the guy, and they had a chance, and they kind of blew it, and then they continue to blow it. And any time they booked him right, they kind of screwed that up. Anyway, number 16, the old Stone Cold. Alliance had just been formed. The official alliance, WCW, ECW alliance. Stephanie and Shane were trying to take their father down. Austin, the old Stone Cold was needed. Vince needed the old Austin. And then Austin finally appeared, after being in a bar for a while, hitting everybody with a crowbar or a tire iron. It was one of the two. He finally made his way to the ring. Glass shattered. His theme hit. That crowd went apeshit. I get goosebumps just thinking about that pop. That pop was massive. Punched, stunned everybody inside, everybody on the Alliance side. Team WWF, Team WWE was looking standing tall, and then Austin turned heel again and joined the Alliance 6 days later. This moment, though, wonderful. Great ending to Raw. And this is when 2001 they were still kicking really, really good. 2002, the Ruthless Aggression era was pretty good, and then of course the whole Benoit thing happened. That was years later. We're not going to go into that, but this particular moment with Austin returning, to form was really nice. Number 15, Undertaker and Triple H return on the same night. This was supposed to be Sting in Triple H's spot. It should have been Sting. Sting should have come. Too bad he didn't. I would have really liked it if he did, because honest to God, he really didn't need to stay in Impact, even if he felt a loyalty. Didn't need to stay in Impact. Should have come. Maybe broken the Undertaker streak. I would have been fine with Sting breaking the Undertaker streak. More than Brock. And even if Sting didn't, he would have still been able to wrestle and, be in quality feuds and stuff like that. Maybe even wrestle Triple H. Maybe even wrestle, and wouldn't have been able to wrestle Kurt Angle until Kurt Angle returned in 2016. And judging by what happened with 2017. Judging by what happened with Sting's neck, if that still happened in 2015, we wouldn't have gotten that. But we could have had Sting versus Ambrose, we could have Sting in a couple Rumbles. That would have been really, really cool. It's a shame that they weren't able to come to agreement, and shame that Sting didn't do it. But hey, it's his career, it's his life. At least he seems happy now. Really cool moment though with Taker and Triple H staring each other down to huge pops, staring up at the WrestleMania sign. That's how you hook a crowd. Even if I didn't care necessarily for this match that they had, I liked it, but I didn't think it was great. I thought their Mania 17 match was better, and their 28 match was way better. It was still really good. It was still a really good build to it. Number 14, Ziggler cashes in. Huge pop. Massive pop. One of the biggest pops ever in Raw history. Really, really good. Really good. Cash in on Del Rio. Only held it for a couple months because he suffered a concussion soon afterwards. Ziggler did. And then lost it in his first defense back to Del Rio. That was unfortunate because you almost had to think that at least he would have gone to SummerSlam with the world title. And it's such a shame. Because that was pretty much the last time that he was really ever pushed as a big guy. I mean, yeah, he got some IC title runs and everything, which were good. And he faced off against Miz at No Mercy 2016, a really blow-away match as far as I'm concerned. But this was pretty much his apex as far as his career goes, and that was almost 5 years ago. That's saying something. But still, great cash-in moment. Number 13, Orton punts Vince. Right before the 2009 Royal Rumble, and yet Orton was still allowed to be in the Rumble despite punting the chairman of the board. And Vince took that punt like a champ. And it was a great way to build Orton as, just being this crazy, insane, snapping viper and whatever. They kind of got undercut after Mania 25, even when he won the world title a little bit later, or won the WWE Championship. It was, it was kind of tepid, and they took a little bit to get it back. But it was still really cool to see him punt Vince, because Vince took that like a champ. Number 12, Rock returns. Huge goosebumps. Rock returned in February 2011. He's the guest host for WrestleMania. Or the host for WrestleMania, and woo, what a pop. Got goosebumps. Of course, called out John Cena, and of course, I would build to Cena and Rock. Once and twice in a lifetime, you lied to us, Rock. You lied. Of course, everybody lied. It wasn't just Rock. But it was really, really good. It was really good, and just great to see Rock back on WWE TV. I enjoyed seeing him back. I know some people didn't. I did. I thought it was fun. Sure, some of his appearances since then haven't been that great. Some of his appearances have been really, really damn good. I don't know if he's going to appear on WWE TV anytime soon because he's so busy with wrestling, but how cool would it be if he appeared on Raw 25? How cool? I mean, I don't think he will, but how cool would that be? His return, though, in 2011 was really marvelous because he'd only appeared in one little pre-taped interview, and then I think inducted his dad into the Hall of Fame. I remember right, he inducted his dad or his grandfather. I forget. It was one of the two. I forget exactly which one. Sorry, some of the Hall of Fame inductions didn't really mean much to me, but this was a nice return for Rock. Number 11, Shane McMahon returns. So much stuff in this segment. One, Shane gained a huge pop, a huge shocking pop when he returned. Crowd chanting, "This is awesome, holy shit." Shane wants to run Raw. Vince says no. Shane says he has secrets on Vince in a lockbox that was never addressed later. Vince says, okay, you got to face Taker in a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania. You win, you get to run Raw. Whatever. It was messy after that, but that return, that pop, that deserves to be here on this list. Number 10, 1-2-3 Kid shocks the world. He had been Lightning Kid on on the Independents, had some pretty good matches with Jerry Lynn, and had been beaten up on Raw for a while, like, Raw and Superstars and this kind of stuff, and he was just under some various names, because he was just used as a jobber. But then Razor Ramon, gets cocky, ends up hitting his head into the post, and is all stunned. 1-2-3 Kid hits the moonsault. 1, 2, 3. Crowd is shocked. Kid is shocked. Razor shocked. Everybody's shocked. Heenan was talking to Razor. That was a fast count. It was just great because 1-2-3 Kid basically got his entire mainstream career launched with this, because Razor was willing to do business, and it was a big deal. Even though Razor, even though Scott Hall had only been on WWE TV for the better part, he'd been on the better part for like 9 months, something like that. At that point, he was seen as a big star because they promote him as a big star and as a big deal, and this meant quite a bit. And 1-2-3 Kid, like I said, got his career launched with this, and it was one of the most shocking moments of the first 5 years of Raw, as far as I'm concerned. Number 9, Daniel Bryan bids farewell. I was there live, and nearly 2 years ago. It's hard to believe. And it was just so traumatic. I didn't want Daniel Bryan to retire because I want him to be able to wrestle again, but his health meant the most. And I did a video, and this was back when I was recording on Ustream, so the audio is good, the video may not be, but you could look back on that if you want. I think it was, I don't remember what playlist it was in. I could take a look for it if you guys would like to see it. But it's just so traumatic. It's just so traumatic. But Daniel Bryan was able to leave, with a big celebration and everything in Seattle, basically his home away from home, even though he's born in Aberdeen, which is about 2 hours away from Seattle, or close to it. But this was great. This was great stuff. It was sad, but it was nice that Daniel Bryan at least got to celebrate with the fans, and the fans got to cheer him and everything. And yeah, there weren't really that many dry eyes in the house, except for a couple drunk idiots. That's why they shouldn't serve alcohol at those events. But anyway, Daniel Bryan bid farewell, and a big thanks to Daniel for everything that he's done in his WWE career, in his wrestling career in general. It's not over. He will go and wrestle somewhere else if WWE doesn't basically let him wrestle at least a couple times this year. Now, I don't think they will. They should, as far as I'm concerned. Because if his brain is actually healed, if he's been going through the treatment to get his brain healed, he should be able to wrestle. Anyway, that's another show for another day. Probably talk about that at the Rumble. Number 8, I originally had this as DX Returns, but I decided to knock that moment off the list because CM Punk's pipe bomb is number 8. It is wonderful. Wonderfully done. Yeah, it was a work shoot. Okay, obviously this stuff was clear, but he was allowed to go out and air his grievances. Did WWE work us? Of course they worked us. Do I believe that CM Punk believed quite a bit of the stuff that he was saying? Yeah, I do. And it worked. It worked. It hooked me. It hooked a lot of people. It got a lot of people back into WWE. It got Heyman back on WWE TV. I mean, granted, it took almost a year after that, but Heyman got back on TV because Punk said, yeah, I'm a Paul Heyman guy. You know who else was a Paul Heyman guy? Brock Lesnar. And he had the smarts to split. But yeah, Punk's pipe bomb was just great. It was I get goosebumps thinking about it because it was a great promo. It was a great promo. That's one thing that Punk could do better than pretty much anyone, especially at that time. He could cut a really good promo. Yeah, he was really good in the ring, but his promo skills were wonderful and still are. I'm sure if he wanted to go into wrestling, if he wanted to be part of Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, I'm still going to go Cody Rhodes because that's who he is. If he wanted to be part of that show that Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks did, I think that they could easily sell out 10,000 seats. Hell, you get a CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan. Imagine that shit. Because Daniel Bryan's contract's going to be up very soon before that show. And it's going to be up so he can wrestle on any show he wants. But CM Punk's pipe bomb deserves to be at number 8. Number 7, the Nexus Rises. Nexus should have been booked better at SummerSlam 2010. But them ripping the ring apart, beating up Gallows and Anderson, Gallows and CM Punk and John Cena, and Daniel Bryan choking out Justin Roberts with his tie was really good stuff. It was really good stuff. Of course, Bryan got fired for a couple months because of the whole tie incident, because of the whole Benoit situation. But it was really, really good stuff. It was the height of pretty much the Nexus. Because unfortunately, I'm not going to say it was all downhill from there. They had a few good segments after that. But it was kind of all downhill after like a month. It was a really good way to introduce a bunch of new talents. And for those that hadn't been watching NXT. But yeah, they kind of botched the whole thing after this. But still, it's number 7 for the fact that this was a truly shocking ending to Raw. Number 6, the game is back. Triple H had been rehabbing a quad injury from May 21st, 2001, I believe. And, there were thoughts that he might not come back. And then there were thoughts that he's going to come back, but when? He might be out for a year. Nope, he was going to be... They had advertised him on the Vengeance 2000... the Vengeance 2001 poster, but he wasn't going to be able to be down there. He was still a few weeks away and everything. Because he wasn't going to be able to do a run-in. There was no way, because he said even at that point, it was going to take him a while to get his strength back, get like his speed back in his legs. Well, they were in Madison Square Garden and everything, and they hyped this return, and they had this, they had great video packages and everything showing the rehab and the toughness of Triple H, which I may not be a huge fan of the wrestler and how he did quite a bit, to book himself in the big title programs, but I won't deny that man was legit tough for overcoming that injury and rehabbing and getting back a lot sooner than anybody else could have. And then, of course, they do the thing, and I get goosebumps just thinking about it. But and this is probably where I'm going to go a little more detailed in some of these moments, like the moments at the top. But Triple H, they said, okay, the game returns next, and the crowd explodes, and it's like, oh, okay. His music hits, and again, goosebumps. I mean, it's like I can't show you on camera. I mean, because I doubt you can zoom in on that, but it's just the amount of goosebumps that I get thinking about it. Music hits, crowd explodes. The crowd really explodes when he appears. That you could feel Madison Square Garden's core, like foundation shaking from how happy the crowd was to see him, and how the adulation and the cheering and everything. It was a great moment. And Triple H, they had to keep hitting. He kept hitting the corners, posing and everything. They wouldn't let up on the cheering. I'm not knocking him. It was a great moment, but it's like they did not let up on that. It was great stuff. I almost put Hogan getting cheered right after No Way Out 2002 on this. I decided not to, because the SmackDown moment where he returned unexpectedly would have actually made it on a similar list like this. And considering SmackDown actually started in 1999, I might do a top 20 favorite moments of SmackDown history, which would be a lot. But anyway, Triple H returning, the huge ovation and everything. And of course, he returns, he's going to be in the Rumble, and that was good stuff. It was just a wonderful moment. Now, number 23, Bischoff is the Raw GM. It will stick in my mind till the day I die. Big fan of Eric Bischoff, big fan of the on-screen character. And just him being on WWE TV at this time, after he had nearly taken WWE out. Nearly had. Like, I think Nash said in like some kind of interview, like shoot interview, he said to Bischoff, says, you won't realize just what you just did, or it's like how good you were until you see what you beat, what you beat for like 2 years. Like, talking about like how WCW shouldn't have beaten WWE, but they did. They beat him for like about almost 2 years. Almost 2 years straight. And Bischoff, though, was Raw GM. Great moment. Him and Vince hugging in one of the most awkward hugs in the world. And Bischoff had a hell of a run for about 3+ years. It was great. It's great stuff, though. Number 4, Y2J arrives. You had this, Y2J, or you had this countdown and everything, and people had no idea what it was, and it was counting down to the 9th of August of 1999. And people were like, oh, what is this? And of course, a lot of people figured out it was Jericho, because there were a lot of people that had Jericho signs in the crowd. He interrupts the Rock mid-promo, and the thing counts down to the end, and the graphic pops when Jericho, and I again get goosebumps just thinking about it, but Jericho's name hits, the crowd goes nuts. Jericho has a great, back and forth with the Rock. Unfortunately, from there, they didn't really book him all that well for a few months. But what a debut. I mean, if you want to talk about best Raw debuts, that might be up there in the top 5. If it isn't, I'd be shocked. But yeah, it was great stuff. Really no more to say about it. Number 3, Shawn trolls Montreal right before SummerSlam 2005, where he's going to face Hogan. He's in Montreal, does a horrible rendition of "Oh Canada," and of course says about Brett, "I screwed him once, I screwed him again." It's like, and if you were here, I'd do the same thing or whatever. I can't remember all the words. And just another one of the biggest pops ever in history, because this is just before Brett's DVD got released, like a little bit later. The first DVD that they did with him. But he says, if I would look him eye to eye, because Brett, his music hits, the crowd goes absolutely ape shit. And I remember watching with my friend, I'm just like, it was my friend at the time, but I remember watching this, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. And like when he didn't come out after 30 seconds, I'm like, oh fuck. It's like, and Shawn's doing this, trolling Montreal, like, oh fuck. Like, god damn it, Shawn. It was great stuff though. One of my favorite moments that Shawn had. It's just wonderful. And he trolled him with Hogan's music, so that was really good. Number 2, Mankind Has a Nice Day. January 4th, 1999. Mankind finally wins the big one. And I talked about this in my Raw, and my favorite Raw, my 25 favorite Raw matches, so I'm going to be brief here on this, but just the pop when Austin's music hits. Hits Rock with a chair, throws Mankind on the Rock. The crowd just got bigger. When that 3 count hit, my God, they went just nuts. They went nuts. And it was a pre-taped Raw, and by the way, it beat Nitro because Bischoff, one of the moments where he shouldn't have done this, Bischoff had Shivani ruin it by saying, oh, that's going to put a lot of butts in the seats. And it wasn't the best move by anybody. But it was really good, though. It was really good. And Mankind winning was a wonderful moment. And number 1, Ric Flair's retirement. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see Shawn beat him at WrestleMania 24. But he did. Rick was 59, so in all honesty, he should have retired, but whew, boy. It was emotional. Everybody got to hug him and this kind of stuff. And I'm also including the stuff that happened off camera where like Undertaker, who never broke character, even embraced Flair and like, a bro hug, to end all bro hugs. But it was really nice. It was Vince, of course, not knowing how to hug at all. Hugging Flair, raising his arm and stuff like that. Just Vince doesn't do affection well. But Ric Flair being able to have that retirement, just have that great moment, have the Hall of Fame induction, the Mania match, and then this. And yeah, he was no longer an active wrestler. Well, in WWE, and then he, of course, went to Impact. And was he was also part of Hogan's like touring brand that didn't draw all that well. But whatever, this is a hell of a WWE retirement. And my favorite Raw moment in history. So what are your favorite Raw moments in history? Leave them in the comments. Like, share, subscribe also. It's been Real Honesty with Jar Mifflin. I'm Jar Mifflin, and I will see you soon.